This session we're fishing on Grenville.
The opportunity only arose a few weeks back. We wanted to get out, do some filming, wanted to get out with Bart. Paul had always said to me, if you fancy coming over, give me a shout. I gave Paul a ring, see if there's any opportunity to come over, and he said, yeah, no problem. You're welcome. Come over for a few days, I'll try and help you out where I can.
We got here for just before midday. Me, Harry and Scott went and had some breakfast, had a little chat, got all excited about coming here fishing. So we got down to the lake, we had a walk round with Paul, had a chat with him. He showed us this mammoth photo album of all these like fantastic fish that have been caught recently, and yeah, we were gagging to have a go.
I fished Grenville a couple of times over the last few years, and the lake has changed massively in the few years I've had a couple of sessions over here. But it's 72 or 75 acres. There's now 1,800 fish in it.
It's blown me away. It's nothing like I thought it would be. You know, I haven't got out the way to think, oh, I've got to fish that lake, because to be honest, I've not heard that much about it because it is a syndicate lake. I knew that it had a good head of big fish in, but I mean, speaking to Paul and what he's doing with the lake and just his theory and his plans for the place, it's just incredible.
I think a couple of years ago was the last time I was here, and to get on the top 50 in his wall in the cabin, I think you had to catch a fish over £39. However, when I spoke to him the other day about that, I said, well, is it now £40 to get in your top 50? And he said, oh yeah, definitely. He said there's easily 60, if not 70 or 80 40-pounders in the lake now.
So we've gone for a walk round.
There was a couple of swims that were producing pretty consistently. One of the swims I think had produced a record capture for the lake. I think 31 fish or something like that over 2 or 3 nights.
And we thought that we'd leave them be, because in my experience, if someone's had a big hit out of there or caught a few fish, they either tend to move or they don't stay there for that long because obviously someone's already caught them.
So by the time you follow it in, it's already done. You know, it's had its heyday, it's finished, the fish have moved somewhere else.
Yeah, so we had a walk round, went down the bottom on the end of the wind. I was keeping an eye on the weather before we turned up, and was looking at a map of the lake, and I had it in my mind that them fish were going to be exactly where we found them. And that, you know, that's only comes from experience. But yeah, like, we've gone down the bottom and there they were right where I thought they were going to be the whole time before coming here.
So we stood there for 5 or 10 minutes, saw a couple of fish, climbed up one of the climbing towers in the corner to give you a really good view of the area, and yeah, we saw a few more. So we thought, rather than jump on the back of previous captures, let's try and do something a bit different. There's definitely fish in the area, let's give it a go. So we got the gear, we dropped around into the 2 swims, we fished side by side to be sociable as well.
Then we managed to find a couple of spots.
Because we'd seen a few fish in the area, I quickly put 3 baits out, 3 up baits, 3 singles out.
And I like fishing over a bit of bait.
He's a bit of an animal, he loves that kind of thing. He's a bit strange if you ask me, but you know, whatever floats your boat, Bart.
And so I went about putting a bit of bait out.
And then proceeded to spot it up for about 3 hours.
I think I stopped spotting at, I think it was 6:30, and I had a bite just before dark. Well, we've got the rods, well, I say we've got the rods out, I've got a rod out. Basically, I wanted to flex the old guns a bit. Not been out on the bank for a little while, so I thought what better way to do that other than fill it in. 3 hours of pure immense baiting up. You're not really fishing unless you put 2 buckets in here. 120 yards into a, well, probably a 30-odd mile an hour headwind. No problem. Beach is that way. And there's like it's almost like a shallow road, isn't it, Scott, that goes out to the island. Say shallow, it's still 17 foot deep. But yeah, I chucked the old grappling lead over the top just to check after we plumbed up, and there was just literally a few little stems of weed, and that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I have one rod out. I chucked one rod on the bait and a bag over in that direction that was showing fish earlier. And I thought I'd just wind this rod in to get it out properly, because I just sort of wanged it out over the bait. And as I clipped the other 2 rods up as well, I was going to put all 3 out fresh over the spot. And yeah, tanked off. Oh. Yay! Wait. Go Team Dad. Bit lost for words really. Just rocked up, spotted it up, caught a 30 pounder. Yeah, 33.5 pound. Really weren't expecting to get off the mark that quick. Had one rod on the spot, just to chuck a rod out there, make myself feel better, like I was doing something when I was quite content just spotting away. 30 pounder going on to the first night of your session. Just, yeah, it takes all the pressure off. You know, it's a fish of a session already. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll get this old girl back now, and primarily because Scott's got the barbecue going out there and I can smell it, and he's got hold of my ribeye steak, so we'll get this one back, go and chill out, have a cider or 2, nice bit of ribeye steak, and then in the morning we'll have a look at exactly how we caught this beauty. We're halfway through the barbecue. We haven't quite got to the ribeye steak. We were just on the burgers and the old kebab sticks. We've had another bite. I can see it. It's just literally just here now. Got Scott doing the honours. Nice scaly one by the looks of it. Oh, go on. Number 2 in the bag. I don't really need to say anything when they look this nice, do I? We've come carp fishing, we've caught a couple of beautiful carp.
He had another bite, then he got all the rods back out again, and then he had another bite, and it just continued. ...2017 has been a very eventful year so far. Me and my wife had our first baby, little boy called Freddie.
I've already got a little girl, she's 2.5.
I got a big fat berry! I got a big fat berry!
Yay!
I did a big fish!
And in March I had a little boy, and yeah, so like that's my little family complete, obviously, with me other half.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but it's been incredible. It's been amazing.
Being a dad is, you think you sort of like, you know how you're going to feel, but you don't really know until it happens. It's an undescribable love.
I don't think you can ever prepare yourself for how it's going to be. Everyone says it's going to change your world, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, and it's every single bit of that.
Yeah, it's just boggling. It's just absolutely incredible.
I've loved every minute of it. Obviously, fishing's taken a little bit of a back step. I managed to get out the other week for a quick couple of nights.
Like Sean always says to me, he says the carp aren't going anywhere. All they're gonna do is just get bigger. He's right, but yeah, it's no good going home to an empty house, just for the sake of a carp. It's just finding a balance in life.
To be fair, my fishing over the last few years has taken a little bit of a back step. Having the wee man, again, just limits that a little bit even further. I'm not really driven for that elusive 50 pounder or big 40 pounder or whatever it could be these days.
Now that I've got children, I think my priorities have changed a little bit. Before, I just wanted to do everything. I wanted to fish for big fish, I wanted to do my match fishing, I wanted to go and do my carp match fishing. You can, in time I will be able to if I want to.
I'm more driven to going fishing, enjoying my fishing. Regardless of how big the fish are, it doesn't matter to me anymore. Obviously it's nice to catch some real big fish, but that's not the thing that floats my boat anymore.
For the moment, I think I've prioritised my fishing towards enjoying it more.
The ability to angle, the environment that I'm fishing in, and just being able to enjoy it.
They say I'm wasting time, they don't understand. I think you'll stay on my mind. It's you over everything, you over everything. I don't know.
I thought I was going to get a good night's kip last night. Nope. Been up most of the night. Had another 3 last night. Had a 18, a 17 and a half, 24. And then this rod's just gone now. So yeah, so the idea of just having a blissful night's kip, unless I wound in, I'm not going to do that with the amount of big fish in here. But yeah, so nothing changes. Still just as knackered. Yeah, we got one on.
You knock me out. You knock me out. You knock me out. Gets better over time, better than I even think. Just like you're a fine wine, and I don't even really drink. You over everything, you over everything, everything. Gets better over time, better than I even think. Just like you're a fine wine, and I don't even really drink. You over everything.
The owner of the lake pool come round just after we caught that last fish. So rather than chuck the rod out, I had a nice cup of coffee and a chat with him just about the lake and how he runs it and his thought behind the lake and stuff. And it's quite his method of how he's getting the fish to grow and looking after the place now is quite something really. And I don't think there's another lake like it in the country. And yeah, it's literally from what he's saying, it's just going to go from strength to strength. But whilst I never chucked that rod out, another rod's gone. So we've got another one on. This one feels like a good fish. It's probably just taken maybe 80 yards of line off me. And I can't remember the last time a fish took 80 yards of line off me. There's a solid resistance there as I'm trying to pull it through the water. So hopefully it's a bit of a cheese. Yeah, ain't very small. It's rather nice. Oh, the old ticker's going a little bit. times. I got 41 and one things to say about this beauty. From start to finish, I knew that that was just a weapon. As soon as I hooked it, it stripped probably getting on for 80 yards of line off me. It took me about 4 years to get it back to the marker knot, and it was still 120 yards out then.
Size of pecs on it.
Yeah, look at that. And yeah, no wonder, like, proper hard fighting machine. When I had the opportunity to come and fish here with Scarton, I just knew that it was an opportunity not to be missed, and you know, what a cracking place. There's not another lake like this in the country. The head of big fish in here is just phenomenal, and you know what Paul's done with the lake is clearly something that everyone else should do. And yeah, absolutely blown away. Incredible. Nice just to be out on the bank after a little bit of time off, and what a way to be welcomed back. Scott's just treating the hook hold with a little bit of carp care kit that Paul provides with all the nets, mats and slings on the fishery, just to preserve them. It doesn't matter if the fisheries that you fish don't provide it, then just make sure you get your own kit and do it anyway, because when they're like this, you know, they're for everyone to enjoy. And looking after the fish is paramount, really. But yeah, let's get her back. Proper donkey. Put a saddle on that and ride that around Western Beach. I've got the rods back out after that last fish. Managed to get all three back out on the spot. And basically, just whilst there's a gap in the action, I just thought, you know, I'd talk to you about the bait and what we're using, because I have said a few times that we've been putting a lot of bait in. And here on Grenville, it is more or less a boilie only rule. Paul likes boilies going in the lake, keeps them in really good condition, feeds them up really nicely. And Paul actually rolls his own bait, and he feeds the lake with his own bait as well, that he's specially designed for the fish. And to be fair, I mean, they're absolutely thriving on it. Yeah, so all we've got in this bucket is some DNA S7, they're 12 millers, and some DNA switch boilies in there. And all I've done is when I got to the lake, I just got my saucepan, I heated up a pan full of water, put on each bucket, and basically all that does is it just makes the baits as though they've been in the water for a little while, nice and soft. They can break up really easy, nice and easy for the fish to digest. Also, I tipped a little bit of the matching spod syrups in the buckets and whizzed that around with the water. So when it's soaked into the bait, it just drew a bit more attraction in. Because this lake is so big and quite deep, you want as much attraction leaking off of these baits as you possibly can. And also when the fish are feeding, it will just keep them in the area a little bit longer. So yeah, that's, you know, I'm mixing these 50-50. I probably have put a little bit more S7 out than I have the switch on this session. And I've been putting them out whole, and also just when I've been loading the spod, just fracturing them up in one hand, just breaking a few of the edges off, just so it's just something a little bit different than just rather neat boilies all the time. And then also I've been adding this spod syrup liquid, which is really thick. It's not like normal liquids, which are just going to disperse out the spod on impact. So what this will do is actually go down and get onto the bottom and stain the bottom. So your spot that you're fishing, this will actually just creep into the floor, and it's just, you know, it's just adding more attraction all the time, and that's what you want, especially fishing venues like this. And you're just encouraging the next bite as the fish are feeding. you're lining up the next bite all the time. So yeah, so that's it. Dead simple approach. Seems to be doing the trick.
Like we mentioned, Grenville is a very large gravel pit, 75 acres. So the ability to be able to fish effectively at range does give you an advantage. Years ago, growing up when I was younger, I used to fish the meres in Cheshire, and we did a lot of long range work then, so I've been pretty accustomed to long range fishing over the years. And as tackle and the technology of tackles improve significantly, just allows anglers to fish further and further out. If you're seeing fish at range and you can put a bait to them at range, then it's obviously giving you an advantage over other people. I think when we started this session, we were fishing into the teeth of a southwesterly. It was blowing 30 mile an hour, so it was a fair old wind, and it's coming right across the water. I mean, you're probably talking 700 yards or something like that. It's coming across the water, so it was really smashing into us. We weren't fishing at mega range, we were fishing at 120. Well, 120 in those conditions was testing. But if we didn't have that ability to be able to fish at range, then we'd have been sat in that southwesterly corner fishing at 60, 80 yards out, and the fish just weren't that close in. So yeah, it's a mega advantage, and as with everything, it's a skill that you need to practice at. So it's worth doing if you're fishing a big lake. So to fish effectively at range, you need the right tools for the job. So you need, strong, decent test curve rods, 3.5 pound test curve, 3 3/4 pound test curve rods, 12 foot or even 13 foots if they suit you. If you can handle 13s, then even better, because you're creating a bigger arc and therefore you're creating more tip speed. You need the right reel, so a decent 12, 13 size reel with a decent long spool on it. You need as low a diameter monofilament as you can get away with, or you deem safe to do so in the environment that you're fishing, or alternatively, what rules restrict certain things. So anywhere where you're not allowed to use leaders, then tapered monofilament lines are perfect for that. Lead size is always a tricky one. You'd be amazed that even smaller leads at 3 ounce, you can still cast a fair way. I think people think the bigger the lead, the further you're going to fish, but the reality of the situation is it's how much tip speed you can generate, and some people can generate more tip speed with a smaller lead, so just have a little play around, get yourself down a field or a lake or a safe environment to do so, have a couple of casts, see which suits you, and give it a go.
Well, Harry trotted off down the bank to do a bit of filming, and it's kicked off. I've had a double take. I got a nice, I don't even know how big it is, but I got a nice scaly one in there, probably mid-20. As I was playing that one, I got that one just close to the net. My other rod's gone, and we got one of the big dogs in there. Madness, pure madness. Just topped up again after we spoke about the bait, and it's gone again. But just fantastic fishing, I can't believe it. So yeah, I'm going to sort my life out, and then we'll get these up on the bank and we'll have a good look at them, especially that thing in there. It's like this wide, so yeah. Mama! Ooh, ooh, ooh. couple of ounces over 44 pound. Second 40 of the morning. Well, I just absolutely boggled. I just, yeah, absolutely made up. I've never had a brace of 40s in a day in the UK before, so just, yeah, madness. This is number 13 of the session, and it's just phenomenal. I just can't quite describe it, you know. Just catching fish of this stamp is just unreal. Just, yeah, just made up right now. As you've seen, I don't need any excuse to get on the old spod, but to do it and to do it well, you do need some proper equipment, and I'm just going to show you the gear that I use for spodding anywhere from, well, from the bank to 180 yards. And firstly, which is probably the most important bit, is your rod. This is a prototype rod that I got given well over a year ago that I've been testing. This is the Horizon X5 13-foot spod and marker rod. So it's a multi-purpose rod that I plumb up with, and then once I found my spot, I just convert it over, take the lead off, and use the impact spod to bait up with. On there, I've got an EOS 12,000 reel. I've got the Exocet marker braid on there, a 30-pound armadillo shock leader, and this is perfect for distance fishing. I mean, we're fishing here now, and these are extreme conditions, let alone extreme conditions to spod in. And I'm comfortably fishing at 120 yards, getting out there every time and baiting up. And sometimes, you know, when the weather changes, that's the difference between catching and not catching. Being able to keep your rigs and keep your bait going in all the time and being on the money is the difference between catching. I'm going to put some bait out in the lake now, but just one thing before we start talking through how we're going to do the casting and that, is get yourself a finger stool. They are an absolute godsend, and they could potentially save your finger, especially if you're fishing at range. You know, it's the braid that does the damage. Make sure your clutch is done up very tight on your reel, and then, because we're just using boilies, I'm just going to fill that out with boilies. Now, all the little gaps in between the boilies in the spod sometimes can not give you enough casting weight, so I'm just going to get some of the spod syrup in there. If you use water, it can run out when you're trying to cast. It'll run out the back of the spod really easily. Whereas if you use like a liquid, all you're doing is putting more attraction in. You know, you may as well put that in rather than water. But this isn't going to leak out the spod as much as the water will. And then you don't need a massive drop on your rod. If you have the rod at a 45-degree angle, you want it in line with the butt ring more or less. Get the rod up behind you. Now I always start with the reel facing down and then twist the rod up. This way I know that it's never going to be wrapped around the tip ring, and it's not going to cause me any crack-offs. I'm going to take a little step back because I want to lunge into the cast as much as I can. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to get me left foot, my big toe pointing where I want to go, my back foot nice and comfortable, and I've got plenty of room to get, you know, I can get right back on the cast. You know, this will put the most amount of power through the rod. So I'm going to pull down more so with my left hand, give me maximum leverage, step into the cast. There you go, that's comfortably hit the clip at 120 yards. It just goes to show that the equipment that I'm using is absolutely bob on for this. And one thing that does make a difference is the recovery on the rod. And I'd say that's probably one of the key features with this rod, is that the recovery is so quick, and that is definitely going to help you those extra few yards when you're fishing distance. All those little percentages, when they add up, makes a big difference. And that goes with my fishing rods as well. I've been lucky enough to get a set of the 12-foot X5s in 3 3/4, and yeah, I've been using them for the same time that I've been using this rod, and they've not missed a beat the whole time I've had them, and it's definitely put a few yards on my casting for sure.
That evening I had a small one, maybe a scraped double, a little scaly one, but we let that one go. And we thought, oh, that might be it now. If they found my bait, then we might be in for a few more.
And I'm thinking like, oh yeah, well, I'll have a bit of this, we'll have a few more here. But that wasn't the case. Went all night without a bite on the second night. I woke up in the morning and I was like looking out, and I could see the fish showing at the other end of the lake, and I was like, damn. So anyway, wound the rods in, got the walkie-talkie off of Scott, jumped in the motor, popped up here, and yeah, there they were, on the back of a real good southwesterly wind. It was tight, it was a no-brainer. We had to come up here.
We made the decision in the rain, and it was hammering it down, to pack all the gear down, move around for the night, because we were pretty convinced that most of the fish that were there had gone.
I'm on the right of Scott. Scott's found a spot more or less straight away, and I basically struggled. There's a shallow area out there, there's a big deep hole and a shallow area, and basically the shallow area is all covered in weed, onion weed, silkweed, bit of Canadian, some other stringy stuff. Yeah, so it was a bit pants, but basically what I've done is I found the lightest weed that I could, and then just got my grappling lead and just constantly, I've probably done it for a good hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, just constantly chucking where I'm going to put my 3 rods, down the plug hole every time. And my spot that I chose to fish over has gone from it's gone from weedy. I can actually now get like a nice, like a more or less a nice pull on it. It's not ideal, but there's a few fish up here, and it's the best I got. So I'm just going to put some bait on that spot and get some really nice balanced little pop-up rigs just to sit down over the top of any weed that may still be there, and yeah, just go from there and just see if we can nick a bite. I've just got the rods out, so I'm just going to show you what rigs I've been using, and I've also had to make a change, so I'm going to talk you through that as well. On my reels, my rods are actually out fishing now, but on my reels I've actually got the Exocet tapered leader line. You're not allowed any shock leaders on here, whereas the leader line, there's actually a shock leader built in to the main line, which is perfect for that, so you don't have any knots behind the lead. And that there is a naked line tail rubber with a slick leg clip. And the reason why I'm using the slick leg clip is because on this lake you have to dump the lead as part of the rule, so when you get a bite the lead's got to come off. There is also a weight limit on the actual lead size, which is 3 ounces. I personally like a slightly heavier lead. I'd use a 4 or 4.5 if I was to ditch the lead, but just on this lake it's 3 ounces, so that's just to coincide with the rules. Obviously you've got the leg clip down there, and then we're coming down, we've got an anti-tangle sleeve, and then we've got probably 10 inches of 20-pound Camotech semi-stiff in the dark camo, and then on the end of there I've got a little short chod section that I've made up, and that's got a straight point size 6 stiff rig hook, and just a little yellow pop up. It worked brilliantly down the other end where we were fishing on a clean hard bottom, and I caught a lot of my fish are caught on this rig, but interestingly I didn't catch any of the big ones on it. The 30 pounder and the 2 40 pounders that I caught were on a different rig, and they were on this little gem. And it's the same hook length material, slightly shorter. There's a tiny little bit of putty there just to stop the hook length riding up off any little stones or anything, because generally we fish them on like hard areas. Beak point stiff rig hook, and then on the end of that I've just got a little wafted dumbbell, and I've just trimmed a bit of the end off and put half a 10mm pop-up on there. And this is perfect. It sits up. The actual hook itself doesn't weigh anything, so the fish can suck it up really, really easy, the same as the free offerings. In this swim, I'm fishing over some weed. I've actually got some here. This is what I've been dragging in. So it's taken me quite a while to plumb up, and I've actually had to use my grappling lead to clear a bit of a spot to be able to fish over. The little wafter rig, however, is no good for fishing over this, because with it being hard on the bottom, it can actually get caught in the weed and sort of stop the fish from being able to take in the hook bait. So what I have done is I've switched to this rig. Now with the other hinge stiff rig, I had the semi-stiff hook length, so that's always going to poke the hook length away from where the lead is. However, with the weed, if the lead's going into the weed, you need a supple hook length so that it can come down and sit on top of the weed. And this is why I'm using the 25 pound Weedy Green Matte Cortex. And then you can see there as well, I've actually got a longer chod section, so this can sit up above any debris, and my hook bait's going to be poked out the top, really nice and presented well. So any fish that are coming down on top of the weed, they can pick that up very, very easily, and there's a lot less chance of any fish, if they are feeding on the spot, to knock the hook into any weed and get caught up, preventing me from getting a bite. And so that's the rig that I'm using now on the new spot. So hopefully, if there are any fish out there willing to have a feed, this should do the damage.
Oh, I've got a double take. Go on, Scott. Whoa!
It's solid. Yeah, one in the bag. That's the third bite and the third 35 pound, no, 36 pound 5. 36 pound 5 of angry male. Probably took me half an hour to get it in. A powerhouse, absolute powerhouse. It's crazy, crazy fishing. Very nice, very nice.
Well then, it's an impressive creature, that one. I got a little one last night. Now I've chipped in with this rather spectacular looking creature. It's made the move worthwhile. Bart's chipped in with his 330s and virtually a triple take. And a couple of hours later, my right hand has ticked off with that. £29, 13 ounce, absolute beautiful fish. So hopefully there's a few more out there, and I could chip in with another couple of half decent ones. As I mentioned in the early hours, when I had that £29 heavily scaled fish, the move had definitely paid off. I can double and triple that feeling, because this is the third bite since the move. That one in there is something rather special. That's, I don't know what time it is now, but literally just had that one. As it was coming light, the birds were chirping, Bart was chirping, I was chirping, and Harry was snoring. Yeah, it's all coming good. We're all happy. So I'm going to try and get this one in, get ourselves sorted, and then we'll deal with that Chunkosaurus, as Bart would say.
Mistakes I've made relate to you. I never saw the things that you were trying to do, and now I'm trying to find a way to deal with this before I fade away. I'm seeing these white lines, and I can't take seeing them all night, and you won't stop hitting my blind side, and I can't take this over and over and over and over. White lines, and I can't take seeing them all night, and you won't stop hitting my blind side, and I can't take this over and over and over and over. White lines, and I can't take seeing them all night, and you won't stop hitting my blind side, over and over.
There we are, folks. £47, 13 ounces. Absolutely incredible Grenville carp. This place is just unbelievable. Massive thanks to Paul for letting us film here. And yeah, happy days all round. Big thanks to Bart, who's smashed them up, smashed me up as well. But it's nice to get amongst a chunk or two.
Every single fish that I've caught, they're just magical fish.
If you'd have said to us before we were coming, half of what we caught would have been a result for us.
It's just been an absolutely mint session, you know, to be here with my mates, fishing how I want to fish, for fish that that just blow you away. Every single one of them is just a different type of fish, it's just a different size, it's just absolutely great. You know, it is literally carp fishing in a nutshell, like this session, and yeah, I can't say that I haven't enjoyed a session like this for a long time.